Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend John Paluski. And as promised last week, a special guest is going to continue his story this week. How are you today, John? And would you introduce us to our guest?
Doing well, Jim, and I'm happy to bring Jason Holdridge back to the mic.
Yeah,
Jason pastors a wonderful church in Lowell, Michigan, with a campus in Rockford, and just has become a dear friend and somebody that I respect and admire. And I've
mm,
watched him grow as a person and watched him grow as a leader over the last 5 or 6 years, and just so delighted with that. I wanted to share him with our audience.
yeah, right
So
on.
yeah, so he was with us last week. Last week we kind of heard from Jason about his conversion experience, his call into ministry, and his journey as a youth pastor,
Yeah.
kind of a second in command guy, and then the guy, and just kind of fun. As he was telling his story, I just remember, Jason, as you were telling your story, I was just going back in my head thinking, man, I said some things as a youth pastor that
We
I,
all
uh,
did.
you know,
Yeah.
and my lead pastor is now with Jesus, so I can't apologize to him anymore. Um, but it was just such a great time together. So, Jason, thank you for being back with us today.
Yeah, it's my honor.
And yeah, I'd like to just start it off with this question, and you can share at whatever level you want to, my friend. Your journey has included a significant battle with anxiety over the years, and I wondered if you could give us an overview of that struggle, unpack it for us a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we left off at the place where I was given the reins to become lead pastor in
Yeah.
2011. I would have been 36 years old at the time. I was a youth pastor for 8 years, and I was kind of second, um, seat with the pastor that planted the church that I'm now the lead pastor of. So it was probably within months. I tried everything that I thought was going to take the ministry up and to the right. I just had this amazing confidence that the Lord has always put in me, and I really still, to this day, have a natural confidence, and not even egocentric, not even arrogant, but just I believe when I do something that it's going to work. And I
Right.
believe when I put my hand on the plow, I'm going to turn ground and it's going to bear fruit. And I believe that to this day. So there was a part of me that was deconstructed within 2 months, where I tried the things that for all these years as a youth pastor and a guy in the second chair, I'm like, when I do this, it's going to blow up, man. This thing's going to explode. And it did inside of me, because the things I tried did
Yeah.
not work. They did
Mm,
not produce what I thought they were going to produce. In fact, it felt like the opposite happened. It was almost like when Phil shifted out and I shifted in, I didn't realize how many people were connected to his leadership. In fact, I'd come
Mm,
up with a methodology that if he moved on, everything would become more clear around here, more streamlined.
yeah.
The leadership would be more cohesive. More people would be less confused. And I would lead with a clarion call into the future, and people would invite their friends because I would be preaching more, blah, 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 blah. And, and then I got in there and some people left, and
Yeah.
our tithes and offerings actually, when I got in, started going down. With that, I literally never touched something without it getting better and more. Um, Whether it's attendance or giving or anything else, that everything grew anytime I got around it. It's the first time that didn't happen. And I honestly did not know what to do with failure
Mm,
because I just had never failed dramatically. Um,
yeah.
that's weird to say by age 36, but I just did not feel like a failure. And any time I hit opposition or adversity, I would just overcome it. Whether it was sports in college or whatever it was, I just overcome it.
Well,
Man, I could not see my way clear. I had no more bullets in the chamber. I used all my best bullets. I even used my silver bullet and it didn't do anything. So I was home one night as people were leaving and things were becoming lesser and lesser instead of more and more.
mm,
And there was a loss of control. And I did not know what happened, but inside of myself, I know it now, I was having a panic attack. I was in bed
mm,
and I was laying there, and all of a sudden I felt like I was having a heart attack. My chest started to hurt, shortness of breath. I remember I grabbed my jugular vein. I thought it was clotting up. I felt like under my sternum, like it was going to crack open. I was hyperventilating. I remember just turning to my wife and I'm like, something's wrong. I don't know. I might be having a heart attack. And I just sort of laid there and I'm like, what is this? And so I went to the doctor the next day. They took tests. They ran, cameras down into me, and maybe it's an ulcer, and they did all these things. And at the end of it, I was hoping for a prognosis so I could take a pill or
right.
know what I need to do. And they're like, Jason, what you have. And I'm like, oh man, tell me what I have so I can get over this, so I can get back to doing what I do, which is kill it. I kill stuff. I drag it home and kick butt and take names. And it was like, you have what is called anxiety. And I'm like, well, yeah, what is, so what about that? And it's like, this is anxiety. And I had it and I had it and I had it, and it wouldn't go away. It wasn't just stress in a moment. It wasn't circumstantial even completely. It was like just an abiding sense that was under my sternum that made my sternum feel like an overripe watermelon that was going to crack open all the time. And then I couldn't sleep because it was like there's a cinder block on my chest. And I was conscious that it was there, so I couldn't relax into sleep. So insomnia started happening. Throughout the day, I'd be leading meetings and I would be having panic attacks while I was laughing. I would be joking with my staff while I was melting down, but I couldn't show that. Long story short, over the course of the next 9 months, from January to December, I went from 182 pounds, which is what I am right now, to 152 pounds. I can look back at video of December after we did a Nehemiah series, and I look like Skeletor. I mean, a skeleton.
Right.
My arms, the doctor was like, you're beginning to eat, you've eaten all your fat. The stress is now you're eating muscle tissue. And I was wasting away. There were moments where coming into that fall, I just was like, if this is living, I cannot do this forever. And here I have 3 little daughters at this time that are counting on me, and a wife. And in many ways, ministry is not going bad. I just am not the same person in it anymore. And I can't get back to who I was, which was this, we'll get it done. I'll just bring more passion. I'll bring more clarity. I'll bring that, that mojo. And it was performative at best. And I thought I was losing my mind. In fact, I was losing my mind. It was starting to crack, fracture. It would play around with numbers and deconstruct words, pull them apart and re-put words together. Like my brain was snapping and cracking and fracturing. And so I went to the doctor. Boy, do I remember this moment. It's one of the most vulnerable moments in the world, where I got there and I'd seen the doctor before, and he's like, Jason, I'm wondering if you should go on medication. Well, in the background I was in, that's basically saying you don't trust God anymore. And so you need to pray and trust God. And it's because you're this or that. All the easy answers went out the window when you're 152 pounds and you can't sleep, you have insomnia, you're trying to hold it together, but you actually just want to go to heaven. which I never wanted to commit suicide, but a pastoral way of saying is I just really want to go to heaven. It sounds a lot
Yeah.
better because you're supposed to want to
Yeah.
go to heaven. People didn't understand how bad I wanted to go to heaven. Every day I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be in heaven. So I remember I stripped down to my knickers. I'm in my tighty whities on that butcher paper on the table, and my legs are dangling on that high table, and I'm in my underwear and nobody's in the room. And I'm a leader of a church in my underwear on butcher table in a room, and a guy's going to come in here. And I'm 152 pounds. Like, I just felt like no masculinity, no strength, no dignity. Like, I was broken down to a guy in his tighty whities waiting to get a physical and to find out what's going on. And that moment, I was just seared in my mind, just one of the low moments. Like, I am at your mercy. I don't know what to do. I'll do whatever you say, Doc. I don't know if I'm going to lose my family. I don't know if I'm going to lose my life, my ministry. It all seems like it's hanging by a thread. Whatever I need to do, I'll do. And so it's almost like that place of just so desperate surrender. Man, it takes some people a long time to actually get there. You keep thinking, well, maybe I'll try this, and maybe if I just hang on and I'll figure out an answer, and I've done it before, I can do it again. And all of a sudden you're like, I can't do this. And that's when I began to take Ambien to actually get to sleep. And then I took Xanax to work on trying to give me some breathing room so that I could actually function in life. And those things were really good. I was with a doctor who was getting ready to retire. The problem was, and this is a long story because it went on for almost 10 years, that I took Ambien almost every night to sleep. I took Xanax. I took Klonopin. I was taking all these things for the next 10 years. And my doctor just kept giving them to me, only to find out when he retired, I went to another doctor and they said, you can't keep doing this. You have a brain of a 65-year-old and you're only 48 years old. This was actually during COVID. We have to get you off of this because your brain, I was losing my memory. I would have staff members come in that were on staff for 5 to 10 years and I couldn't remember their name. And I would have to actually look at them, remember their wife's name, reconstruct their name by their wife. I was maneuvering in conversations and even paragraphs of forgetting what the beginning of the paragraph was and trying to navigate to make it look like I was not losing my memory. And so I know that's rushing 10 years, but I didn't think I could exist without it. I honestly, when this Indian lady told me that I couldn't do it anymore, I started having a panic attack right there. Like, I won't be able to sleep. I won't be able to do ministry. I won't be able to lead. I will have insomnia, and that will be worse than me losing my memory. I could not actually conceive how I was going to sleep without it. And sleep to me was the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, keep the story going now, Jason. So that was that moment, and the moment you're living in now is very different from that moment. What happened between that moment and here? Because I think again we're touching on. You made the comment. It wasn't that I wanted to die. I just don't want to live like this anymore. Like I just I knew there was a difference between I'm going to jump in front of a car. I'm going to stop eating.
Yeah.
One is suicidal. One is despair and hopelessness. Right. So you're going to come back alive now. Parts of you that have fallen asleep or gotten sick and died. There's got to be a resurrection somehow in your soul. So tell us now what you've been leaning on is no longer, you're not allowed to lean on anymore because you'll start thinking like John and I now think in our 60s, where you have to remember the person's name or remember their wife and the last name and then going back to the kids and then
I was
and then you
where
get the
you
name,
guys currently are at as a 47-year-old.
Oh, you poor thing. You poor. So what happened next? Like how did
well, I'll tell you that story if I can go back, because this should both be encouraging and scary as hell.
Yeah.
For the next decade with medication, I climbed back up. I gained weight. I began to feel some semblance of myself. The
Yeah.
anxiety never fully went away. It never has. I have it right now while I'm talking to you now at a level
Hmm.
4 out of 10. So
Hmm.
my promises, and it all vanished, and we lived happily ever after. But
Yeah.
I began to realize I can actually do things afraid. I can actually live
Hmm.
with this, and it isn't the end of my life. And
Hmm.
if this is my cross to bear, my thorn in the flesh, to keep me dependent on the Lord, that's where I pivoted. I am
Hmm.
completely conscious of my neediness for God, like
Right
I
on.
never have been. That
Yeah.
despair has led to desperation. And if this is what keeps me close to the Lord, then I will
Yeah.
gladly embrace this to whatever degree I need to. The medication did help. I began a capital campaign for a building. We raised the money. We did that. We grew to 1,000 people. 2015, we started a capital campaign to raise $9 million. I began to do that, raised
Yeah.
$9 million, built the building debt free by the time we got in 2019. Staff grew
Yeah.
from 4 people to 20 people. It's scary that you can be living in sort of desperation and darkness on and off and still function with a
Yeah.
desperation of God. What I never went back to is trying to hide. With my staff,
Mm.
I'd be like, this is my heart.
Mm.
To my church, I would share, this is my
Yeah.
journey. I would go into that journey and say, many of you might be there right now.
Yeah.
I, I'm a shepherd, but I'm sheep. I'm a sheep too. I'm following the Lord with you.
Yeah.
Um, and I began to open my life up, all of it, and not
Yeah.
just, hey, here's another glory story from Jason. It's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you something I'm embarrassed of, but this is the truth, and God's still using me, and there's hope for you. I began to use that, and that actually, I think, began to grow a different kind of culture in our church.
Yeah.
um, so that
Yeah.
was good. And you get to 2020, 21, you change doctors to get to where you're saying, and they're like, it's almost like Jethro coming to Moses. What you're doing is not good. This isn't working. This was my
Yeah.
Exodus 18 moment. And I began the journey of weaning away, particularly from benzos. Benzos, I had no idea until I listened to Jordan Peterson, who almost lost his life
Yeah.
after trying to, be on withdrawals from benzos. Uh, it was a nightmare. And John was with
Mm.
me during this
Yeah.
time. This is a plug for John. I'm
Yeah.
not getting I'm not getting paid to do this at all. I love John, but John was with me, and there were just moments where I'm like, I'm in withdrawals and I'm losing my mind. I'd lose all my memory. In fact, everything would
Wow.
pixelate behind me 2 seconds ago, and I couldn't think 2 seconds in front. So if I was
Wow.
typing a text, I wouldn't remember what I just typed, and I wouldn't remember who I was typing it to, and I'd have to reread my text.
Wow.
My brain was going through so much. When I would scan across a room, it would pixelate all of the colors after only what I could see. I would forget actually everything other than my siblings. And so laying in bed, my brain would just be uh, trying to remember things. And I remember just I only share these stories in case somebody's out there, but I put my
Yeah.
brother Tim in an oval picture, my sister Becca, and my sister Angela. And I just saying, you're Tim, you're Becca, you're Angela,
Yeah.
you're Tim, just to in the moment grab a
Right.
hold of some reality.
Right.
I
Yeah.
remember Heidi came in and I could barely end a sentence because I wouldn't remember what I was saying at the beginning of the sentence. So I was talking to my wife and I would say, Heidi, don't leave me. I'm going, I'm going to get better. I can't remember what I just said. Just
Mm.
stay right there with me. And she would. And for hours it would be that way. And then it would lift and I'd be able to remember more. But there was probably 12 months, and I charted out the journey um, where I would lay in bed and I'd have insomnia, and they're like, you need to just do that. And if you have to wake up the
Yeah.
next morning, and you'll get tired eventually, but do
Yeah.
not go back to those pills. I had to go to a different bedroom, and I remember just laying in bed, just saying, God, you're here with me. I need your grace. Help me. Help me. I just cry out. I was my cave of Adullam,
Oh,
man. I was in the cave
yeah.
of Adullam, and I was just like, man, just help me. And my wife was with me. I came into my staff. I have executive pastors, and this is where I'm at. And this is going to be our journey, not just mine. There's going to be days where I lose it. I don't remember things. I don't come to work, but I'm fighting to get off of this stuff. And the promise is I will get better. So anyway, this is a truncated version, but slowly but surely, even my memories begun to come back. And I don't have a mind like a steel trap, but boy, I can remember things, and it feels good to recall things in the
Right.
moment. Um, and I'm not addicted to those things. I do take trazodone that's non-addictive to help sleep,
Okay.
that my doctor gives me, and just some magnesium and things like that. Um, but no, I don't. I'm not addicted to benzos anymore. I had never understood
No.
addiction and withdrawal. I almost feel like God wanted to take me through all this so that I never
Mm.
look at another person who's struggling with addictions
Right.
or withdrawal. I'm
Right.
like, dude, that must be
Yeah.
really hard. What you need to do is do the right thing, think the right thing, feel the
Yeah.
right thing.
Yeah, pray more.
It's like,
Um,
dude, I
Yeah.
feel you, bro. Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah.
yeah,
I feel it all now, guys. That I think that's the
yeah,
thing. I have such deep compassion for the world. I'm not just leading from a place of unknowing. I just feel like the Lord's like, you're going to know it
yeah,
all, and I'm going to give you strength. So
yeah. And Jason, there's so much I could say to that. I think that all of us that have been through pain in our lives are able to help people at a level we never could have without having
absolutely,
gone through that pain before. I have described it this way that, before I went and crashed into the wall of suicidal depression, my remedy for people who were depressed was woefully inadequate and highly impatient. And
mm,
now, having walked that journey, um, able to sit with someone patiently as they unpack, unravel, uh, tear down, and rebuild, and that takes a long time. And so, I think that's just I want to encourage those of you who are listening and watching. If you're going through something right now, um, uh, first of all, we're sorry that you're going through it.
yeah,
And we don't want you to go through that alone, because probably what you're going through is too heavy for one person to carry.
right,
Um, but God has amazing purpose in it.
yeah,
So if you'll just hang in there, get the help you need, work at it, get healed up, there is this amazing ministry that opens up to you with people who are hurting. Um, and again, Jason, your story is just another example of that. And I also wanted to say this, and then Jim, I think you've got a final question here, but I had the privilege of a front row seat to Jason's journey, and he's giving you the highlights. And man, there were weeks and there were months where I wondered, is Jason going to make it? Is he going to
yep,
get through this? And to see you gotten through it
mm,
and functioning at a healthy level again is, it just doesn't
mm,
get much better than that in life.
Yeah.
yeah,
For me, at least, to watch somebody like you who has put in a tremendous amount of work. Listen, getting better isn't easy. It takes a lot of work,
mm,
but you put in that work, and God has used this really difficult season of your life to make you a better leader.
yeah,
Uh, and somebody that people in your congregation just, I mean, they can identify with you because you're
yeah.
so open about it. And sometimes I've worried you've been a little too open about things. And I've said,
Well,
hey, just
remember when you shared, like, share from a scar, not a wound. And
yeah,
I've never forgotten that. Just if you're going to share, just make sure it's
Yeah.
become a scar and it's not an open,
yeah,
gushing wound.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
But I'm super proud of you, and I want to say that to our whole audience. Just proud of how you wrestled through that and gotten to where you are today. So, Jim, I think you've got one more question here at the end.
Yeah. But my pastor used to say, never trust a leader who doesn't walk with a limp. That was his way
Mm.
of describing,
Mm.
that a
Yeah,
person who hasn't faced struggles doesn't have a lot of sympathy or mercy or wisdom to help those
yeah.
for struggles. So sometimes
Yeah.
teachers have to learn, before they can practically teach. So that last question is this, and believe it or not, I'm so important in my organization that I have to let my dog out. She's over there by the door scratching on it. So that's right. I've ascended to the high ranks of caring for the family pet. Um, but go back to your 25-year-old self. You're still bulletproof. Everything you touch turn to gold. And it's not a threatening word like you better watch it or God's gonna. It's not that, and it's not. But there's a wisdom I think that should be spoken so that if and when the time comes, it can be recalled. I
Mm.
remember when Jason said these words 5 years ago. I identified with every bit of his story until he burned out. I'll never burn out. Like what? You know what I mean? Like talk to
Yeah.
that man, that woman, that athlete, that entrepreneur. It's something that when it comes time, in case of emergency, break glass. There's gonna be an emergency, right? In everybody's life. So what's on the other side of that broken glass? What'd you say to them?
I just I just thought what was needed of me was the strong me. I
Yeah.
I don't
Mm.
know. I just thought, man, the strong me is what everybody wants. The strong me is
Oh,
what I actually want to display. I had no category for what I was robbing people of by not sharing the weak me.
there you
And
go.
it truly is. It's like you're robbing your wife even. You're robbing your
Yeah.
kids. You're robbing obviously people you're in leadership with, your people. It, it just never occurred to me this whole world that opened up to me after I had a
Mm,
crash that actually was the connective tissue for me and the body. It literally was
Mm.
the cartilage between this bone and that bone was suffering. So it just made sense that Paul's like, so I glory in my weaknesses and sufferings and
right.
difficulties. For when
Right.
I'm weak, then I am strong. And it's like, even when he says in 2 Corinthians 4, we're hard pressed on every side, but not, all this stuff. He goes later, he says, so death is at work in me, but life is at work in you. And I'm like, well, that's not fun. Like, I want death to be at work in me so that
Yeah.
life's at work in you. Like, I want life to be at work in me so life can be at work. It's a win-win situation. It's like, yeah, but that death, always carrying around your body the death of Jesus so that the life of Jesus might be made manifest in your body. It's like, I did not understand these verses. I didn't even
Yeah.
see how many there were of them, you know?
Oh,
And
Yeah.
just ministry, my verse now is 1 Thessalonians 2:8. We loved you so much that we're delighted to share with you not just the gospel of God, but our lives as well, because you become so dear to us. Like,
Yeah.
mm,
you are so dear to me. I'm not just going to share with you the gospel. I'm sharing my very life, all of it, because I love you so much. And I just want that happen. And then this new compassion. I would say it even this way to my 25-year-old self. I would be like, you're robbing people of the best part of who you are, and you're keeping them at a distance. And you think you're impressing them, but you're not making an impact on them. And
right.
impressing people and impacting people are very different. I remember somebody said
Right.
something, you can impress people from a distance, you only impact them really up close and close proximity. So that you have to let people in further than that you're almost embarrassed to let them into. In fact, I shared with our leadership team last night, I'm taking a sabbatical in 2 weeks, and I shared something going on with my son that's just embarrassing. It's disgraceful. And I got done and we were out in the parking lot, and my executive pastor, Ryan, said, do you have any vulnerability hangover right now? And I don't typically have vulnerability hangover. I did. I just was like, that was hard to share because it's a part of my life I don't want to even believe is true. But my 14-year-old, if I'm going to stay sharing my life and the gospel, I got to share my life, all of it,
Yeah.
all of it. Watch your life and your doctrine closely. I can watch my doctrine, but if I don't watch my life, you're saving both yourself and your hearers. These verses mean something to me at levels I didn't understand. But if I could tell my 25-year-old self, just release yourself to it. It gets better. And I would never want to not go through losing 30 pounds, going through panic attacks, because it's just been the biggest blessing to give me access to a world I just did not know was right under my nose all along.
Right
I'm a
on.
better husband. I
Yeah.
understand my wife. I listen to her pains rather than like, come on, babe, get over it. No, I don't say that.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
nonsense. Or my kids like, oh, yeah, it is hard. Sometimes life's really hard. But I'm with you. It's that kind of thing that then intimacy can happen.
Right.
It's one thing. There's impressing people. There's impact, and then there's intimacy. I want to be in places of intimacy. Suffering creates connective tissue for intimacy and relationships. So
Yeah.
I
That's
tell that
beautiful,
guy
Jason.
I tell that guy that. I don't know if he'd believe me, because we're all
Yeah.
older saying, man, if I knew then what I know now, it's like, well,
Yeah.
I didn't. But
But
that,
again, I think those words are for when the emergency comes, there's a glass we can break, and those words are just on the other side of that. I think people
there's
listening right
hope.
now that will
Yeah, there's hope on the other
they'll
side.
need those words, maybe not today, or maybe they think, well, it's good for him, but I'm
Yeah,
still in control, I'm still in charge. Like, okay, but life has a way. Gravity has a way. you know,
yeah,
age has a way. I mean, one of the hardest things to do is to grow older and to lose those
yeah,
memories, or to lose the capabilities, the strength, or to whatever it is. We are not the people today that we will be tomorrow, for better or for
right.
worse. Things are changing. The one thing that won't change is the right answer to every question, no matter what the question is. It's still going to be Jesus. It's still going to be that intimacy, that
Yeah,
relationship, that trust. So I'm grateful for your words. Although today I don't need them. Tomorrow, if I do, I know all I gotta do is break the glass. Speaking of
right.
which, Jason, I don't know how accessible you are, but if somebody wanted to hear more of your story, read a book you wrote, have a coffee with you. I'm not sure what exists in your time frames, but how would somebody get a little bit more of what we've talked about if they wanted to take another step?
Yeah, no, I one of the promises I made in the darkest nights of the soul
Yeah.
was, if there is ever someone out there that is feeling what I'm feeling right now, God, I will wake up in the night and join them there. I've been with men who are business leaders at 1 in the morning, 11 at night. They've called me, and I'm there because I'll never leave somebody alone in that spot. And
Yeah.
so I've
Oh,
committed. I can't commit to everything.
right.
But man, if people are feeling like that, they can reach out to me, Facebook message, or Jason at impact.church. I have a
Okay.
deep, deep passion and compassion for people going through that. To just let them know they're not alone. I wish I had more of that when I was 36. I really
Yeah.
do. I felt like I hadn't met somebody who could talk to me in a language I would understand. I still felt very, very alone.
Yeah.
And doctors can only help you so much, with
Yeah.
prescriptions and diagnostics. It's like I needed some. When John came in and shared with me his story, I'm like, there it is. There's a
Right.
guy I respect. He's measured. He's calm. There's hope, but
Yeah.
he's going to open his life to me, and it doesn't always get easier, but it's going to be okay. Just an
Right.
older man to say it's going to be
Yeah.
okay, bro. You're good.
Right.
You're
It's
good.
going to be okay.
And
Yeah.
someday I'm 50 now, but I hope when I get my 60s, I'm just going to be looking for 30s and 40-year-olds and just
Yeah.
tell them you're going to be okay. I just needed
Yeah.
an older man to tell me that some days, and
Yeah.
they weren't there. And I'm like, where are those
Yeah.
sages? So yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I love that. That someday you're going to be the person you couldn't find.
yes,
Mm,
When you were looking for that
I love
person,
it.
that's for ministry. The best of ministry comes from that, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes,
Well, John, any closing thoughts before we sign off?
I just want to say thank you, Jason,
Yeah.
for your transparency and your openness. And again, your friendship. I love you and appreciate you a ton. And thank you for joining Jim and I for a few minutes these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's awesome.
thanks,
Awesome.
thanks, Jim.
Well, those of us who have been observers on this in this conversation, and listeners, I hope that this has been as impactful for you as it has been for me. And again, if Converge, if Jason, if John, if anyone can be there with you, that's, I don't know how to say it the right way. We don't work for, there's certain finances involved in this, but our paycheck is not it's not a dollar bill. It's a satisfied soul that knows that someone has been helped, that fruit has been produced, that God has been glorified, that pain has been relieved. So if we can help, we'd love to. We really would. So God bless you. You're in our prayers. We love you. You're leading. And our prayer is that you'll keep leading a long time and having a good time doing it, being effective. So God bless you as you continue to lead from alignment.